a question that stirs both the heart and the mind. What is a healthy relationship truly? Not in the poetic musings of love-struck idealists, nor in the fleeting passions of romance novels, but in the quiet, day-to-day reality of human connection. Today, we delve into the enigmatic world of avoidant partners, their actions, their fears, and their notion of what constitutes a healthy relationship. Brace yourselves, for this is no simple journey. Picture a quiet castle, fortified with towering walls, a moat, and a drawbridge that seldom lowers. This, my friends, is the inner sanctum of the avoidant. To them, a relationship is not a sanctuary of shared vulnerability, but a tightly controlled ecosystem where independence reigns supreme. And herein lies the paradox. They yearn for love, yet fear its demands. When an avoidant embarks on a relationship, it is often with good intentions. They long for connection, just as we all do. In the beginning, the relationship may seem promising, even magical. You share laughter, stories, and dreams. But as time marches on, something shifts. For the avoidant, love begins to feel less like a gentle tide and more like a surging wave threatening to engulf their sense of independence. Here lies the first great misunderstanding. To the avoidant, comfort is synonymous with health. If they feel safe, unpressured, and free to self-soothe, they believe the relationship is thriving. For their partner, however, this perceived comfort often feels like coldness, withdrawal, or a lack of commitment. You see, the avoidance concept of a healthy relationship often lacks the reciprocity that most of us expect. They may take your support, your kindness, and your patience, but offering the same in return can feel alien to them. It's not malice, it's programming. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the formative years where attachment styles are forged. An avoidance childhood often features caretakers who meet their basic needs, food, shelter, and clothing, but little else. Emotional warmth, validation, and deep connection are missing. From an early age, the avoidant learns that emotions are dangerous and self-reliance is survival. Fast forward to adulthood, and the avoidant carries this self-sufficient mindset into their relationships. Emotional intimacy becomes a minefield. They view vulnerability not as strength, but as weakness. And so begins what I call the self-fulfilling cycle of the avoidant, a pattern as predictable as it is tragic. Allow me to walk you through this cycle. It begins with the avoidant wanting love. They seek out a partner, someone who ignites hope and excitement within them. The early days are a honeymoon of sorts, filled with optimism. But then, something happens. Their partner, perhaps someone with an anxious attachment style, craves emotional connection. They ask for open communication or moments of vulnerability. To the avoidant, this feels suffocating, like an invasion of their carefully guarded fortress. They begin to withdraw, citing the need for space or independence. Eventually, this withdrawal leads to a breakup. At first, the avoidant feels relief, as though they have shed a burden. But then, loneliness creeps in. They begin to miss the connection, the warmth, the companionship. They enter a state of victimhood, asking themselves, why does this always happen to me? And so the cycle begins again. They seek out love once more, only to repeat the same pattern. Now, let's address the crux of the matter. The avoidance notion of what a healthy relationship looks like. In their ideal world, a relationship is one where their boundaries are respected without question, where emotional expression is limited, and where they are understood without having to reciprocate understanding. They crave a partnership where their needs are met without feeling the pressure to meet yours in return. Consider these words from a dismissive avoidant who described their ideal relationship. To get along with us, it's important not to be too impulsive or accusatory. Accept our boundaries and be careful with criticism. Clinginess makes us want to run. Don't try to force us to open up or be dependable. Take us seriously, but don't ask too much of us. To most of us, this sounds one-sided, perhaps even unfair. But to the avoidant, it feels natural, logical even. And now the golden question: can avoidance change? The answer, dear friends, is yes, but not without effort, introspection, and crucially, the presence of a secure partner. Avoidants do not change in isolation. Attachment styles are not only formed in relationships, but also reformed in relationships. Enter the concept of secure attachment gravity. Imagine a secure partner as a gravitational force, steady and unwavering, drawing the avoidant out of their fortress and into a healthier dynamic. But let us be clear, this is not a swift process, nor is it guaranteed. The secure partner must remain patient and consistent, modeling the behaviors and attitudes that encourage the avoidant to confront their fears and reframe their perspective on intimacy. So what can you do if you find yourself loving an avoidant? The answer begins with understanding and boundaries. Be the calm in their storm, not the tempest. Avoid overwhelming them with demands for emotional closeness. Instead, create a safe space where vulnerability feels less like a risk and more like a shared experience. But, and this is crucial, do not lose yourself in the process. Your needs, your boundaries, your well-being are just as important as theirs. If the avoidant cannot meet you halfway, it may be a sign that the relationship is not sustainable. Before we close, let us turn the lens inward. Why are you drawn to the avoidant? Is it love? Or is it a subconscious desire to fix someone who mirrors wounds from your own past? True growth comes not only from understanding others, but also from understanding yourself. My dear friends, relationships with avoidance are not for the faint of heart. They require patience, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to both understanding and self-respect. But remember this: you cannot scale their fortress alone. They must lower the drawbridge, and that decision is theirs to make. And so, I leave you with a challenge. Whether you choose to stay or walk away, let it be a decision rooted in clarity and courage. For in the end, the greatest act of love is not clinging to another, but standing tall in your own worth. Go forth, then, into the labyrinth of love with eyes wide open and heart steady. And should you stumble, remember, it is in the falling that we learn to rise.